Hey, this is Dr. Ernst, host of the AskDrErnst Show, and I have a call for anybody who's been diagnosed as a diabetic. Maybe you're taking the new injectable peptides. Maybe you're having to inject yourself with insulin. Maybe you're taking a blood sugar pill and you're wondering, is there light at the end of this tunnel? I'm here to say the answer is yes. We've personally seen hundreds of diabetics ditch the daily finger sticks, ineffective diets, and prescriptions when they do one thing: locate and fix the cause. Yes, diabetes has a cause, and it's not your genes. Despite what your doctors may have told you, it's often caused by hormone communication disruption, toxic heavy metals, and neurological subluxations. Why don't you join me for a free online masterclass, Destroying Diabetes, Saturday, March 15th at 10 a.m. And I'm also going to give you a free ebook right now that can help you to lower your blood sugars quickly. Simply text the word diabetes plus your name and email to 704-906-2094. The masterclass is yours for free. The ebook is yours for free. Simply text your name, your email, and the word diabetes to 704-906-2094.
Beyond wine, we really care about health, the health of the planet and the health of each other. That's what inspired us to start this business. Our family of team members meets every morning for a group meditation, followed by an open gratitude session. We believe a sound mind with a focus on peace is the best instrument for change. Joint meditation is the cornerstone of our company culture, and it helps us remember what's important, spreading joy and love, just like our family growers. Our family is a collection of passionate, health-conscious individuals who love to laugh and enjoy each other's company. We eat seasonally, grow our own vegetables, cook together, and share wine. Our team is incredibly dedicated to our mission. Everything from sourcing the wines to answering service questions. Your natural wines were found and sourced around the world by our wine team. They taste every one, oversee their lab testing, and choose exactly which ones go in which box. If you order, your individual box will be packed by our incredibly hardworking fulfillment team. If you have any questions, your service requests will be handled by a wonderfully loving member experience family who only have one goal in mind: your 100% happiness. This video is put together by our talented media team, filmed and edited in-house, just like the rest of our artful media. From our unique creations to our printed lifestyle piece called A Matter of Taste, we put love into everything we do, and we hope to share it with you.
Would you like to experience a better night's sleep? Want to feel well rested and ready for your day? Discover an amazing solution with Celient Sleep Recovery. Our Celient Sleep Recovery products are made from a patented yarn embedded with a blend of 13 infrared active minerals. Celient technology never washes out. The benefits will last for their entire lifespan. Minerals reflect the body's own energy by using Celient infrared active technology, boosting your oxygen levels and improving circulation to reach REM sleep gracefully. Our customers love to comfortably sleep throughout the night because of Celient. We've conducted 9 independent clinical studies by well-respected scientific institutions and universities that prove the many positive effects Celient has on the body. Our technology is designed to help you achieve a refreshing sleep recovery. Get into bed to experience our smooth Celient Egyptian cotton blend sheets. Protect your mattress against the sands of time with our Celient mattress protectors. With our pillow protectors, you get the benefits of our recovery therapy. Explore new places and feel well rested throughout your journeys. Discover luxurious support that allows you to sleep in almost any position. Neck blankets are small and compact. You can bring them with you just about anywhere. Experience the foundation your body deserves. Start waking up refreshed and always ready for the day ahead. It's time to achieve the best sleep of your life to unlock your hidden potential. Start experiencing a better night's sleep with our Celient Sleep Recovery products today. Celient. Recycle your body's energy.
Hey, good afternoon. Happy Saturday. You're listening to the Ask Dr. Ernst Show, the show where pounds are shed, disease is dead, and where you get to be set free from your health problems. I'm your host, Dr. Ernst, and today we're going to be unlocking a guide to natural healing from a condition and a topic that I think affects millions of Americans, yet is often misunderstood, misdiagnosed, or simply ignored. It is what's known as metabolic syndrome and how that connects to type 2 diabetes. So if you are someone you know is listening, or somebody you love is struggling with weight gain, high blood sugar, high blood pressure, insulin resistance, this is the episode for you. We're going to be breaking down this ominous condition called metabolic syndrome and how it is a precursor to the major conditions that we deal with today: elevated blood pressure, elevated cholesterol, elevated blood sugars, and we get diagnosed as these kind of sub-conditions, when in fact the true root cause is this insidious health condition that often sneaks up on us over time. Technically, it is not a disease. Rather, it's a dangerous combination of 5 metabolic imbalances that when together will put you at high risk for diabetes, at high risk for heart disease, even at high risk for stroke. Think of it, if you will, as like the perfect storm that conventional medicine is not really paying attention to the way that they should. We end up with high blood sugar, we get diagnosed with diabetes. We end up with high blood pressure, we get diagnosed as having high blood pressure and we're put on medications. We have excess abdominal fat, weight loss resistance, elevations in triglycerides, changes in cholesterols, tagged again as cardiovascular heart health issues, placed on medications just to address the symptoms. And if you have 3 or more of these, then unfortunately, that is the silent red flag known as metabolic syndrome. And the worst part, most people don't even know they have this until their doctor says something like, you have diabetes or you have high blood pressure. So it's not a small problem, guys. It's a nationwide health crisis. Listen to this. According to the CDC, 96 million Americans are pre-diabetic, don't even know that they have this condition starting to develop. And a staggering 37 million people already know and have been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. So if you clump that together, the 96 million and the 37 million, that is half of the U.S. population is at risk for a condition known as metabolic syndrome and is not doing anything to address it until the diagnosis comes. Again, conventional medicine's answer is just, this problem is simply more medications or more insulin or more dependency on what I believe is a failing system, not addressing root cause, only dealing with superficial symptoms. And they'll tell you that your diagnosis is either because it's of a genetic tendency or it's a progression, meaning that it's something that you'll never really truly heal from and you'll just have to manage for the rest of your life. Like, think about this. How many people diagnosed with high blood pressure are told they have to manage it? Same thing with type 2 diabetes. It is not true that we have to manage our diseases. The reality, diabetes, metabolic syndrome, high blood pressure, elevated cholesterols, these are not life sentences. It's not that it's irreversible. It's not that you have to be dependent upon a medication or insulin or metformin or glucophage if you're a diabetic, or high blood pressure, ACE inhibitors, beta blockers, statins, etc. If you follow the mainstream approach, all you get is that Band-Aid, drug lowering your problem solution, and it's never going to address the underlying root cause. It's like trying to mop up an overflowing sink without ever even turning off the faucet in the first place. So the real solution lies in identifying and correcting what I'm going to teach you guys today, the 5 main root causes of metabolic syndrome, which is what ends up giving people diabetes or high blood pressure or cholesterol issues. And if you identify these and fix them, then the good news is there is a way out. A combination of functional medicine, chiropractic care, and even targeted detoxification can help you to reset your metabolism. It can help you to restore insulin sensitivity. It can actually help you to naturally reverse the damage that can be created by this. And so in today's show, we're going to break all of that down. We're going to start by identifying some of the triggers and the root reasons for the metabolic syndrome. We're going to discuss natural solutions so you can break free from this. And again, remember, it's no longer about managing our condition. It's about finding the root cause, addressing that, and letting your body reverse it for good. So make sure all during the show today you stick with us, and this is your opportunity to download what we call Diabetes Heal Thyself. We're in a series addressing type 2 diabetes and insulin resistance, and this ebook is a functional guide to helping you lower your sugars, lower your A1C, and it's 100% free. All you have to do is text your name, your email, and the word diabetes to 704-906-2094. We'll zip that over to you today. And next Saturday, guys, we already have over 300 people registered, is the Metabolic Syndrome Diabetes Breakthrough Masterclass. I'm going to take you live at 10 a.m. in the morning, Saturday, March 15th, on how to identify the root causes. How do you test for them? What do you do at home to correct them? And we're going to give you a solution to solving elevated sugars, elevated A1C, and diabetes. So again, the ebook is yours free. Just text over your name, your email, and the word diabetes right now, and we'll send it to you. And then the masterclass is yours on Saturday, the 15th. So what is specifically metabolic syndrome? It's often referred to as what we would call the root silent killer. Not saying like heart disease, not saying cholesterol. We're saying the metabolic syndrome, the elevations in blood sugar, triglycerides, abdominal weight, blood pressure, etc. All of that is the linking factor behind metabolic syndrome. And it doesn't just present as a singular disease, as we just mentioned. It's a cluster of 5 metabolic imbalances. Specifically, when you have metabolic syndrome, it is the root reason why most people have type 2 diabetes. It's the root reason most people have cardiovascular abnormalities, elevations in cholesterol and blood pressure. It's a complete metabolic dysfunction where your body becomes resistant to insulin first, then it starts to accumulate fat second, then it starts to affect liver functionality, and we see blood pressure and cholesterol levels start to shoot through the roof. Then it starts to affect your weight, your mood, your affect, and your energy. So if you have 3 out of 5 of these imbalances, elevations in blood sugar, blood pressure, cholesterol, triglycerides, and excessive body weight, then you have metabolic syndrome, even if you haven't been diagnosed with it. And the issue is, it's rarely diagnosed in the United States. Most conventional doctors will say something like, oh, you know what, you just have these conditions, this is a symptom, we're going to treat it with a medication. And the reason is the medical system is designed to chase after symptomatology and not prevent disease. And because metabolic syndrome isn't something that just shows up overnight, it's a condition that tends to build up over time, silently wreaking havoc on your metabolism. And if you can recognize and address these causes and these symptoms now, you can prevent long-term damage that leads to chronic illness. So what are the 5 markers of metabolic syndrome? Why do they matter? And they matter because if you're struggling with high blood pressure, you're often taking a medication just simply trying to drop it down rather than addressing the metabolic need. Elevations in blood sugar, again, type 2 diabetics taking medications. Excess abdominal fat, we're gaining weight, we're trying everything with diet and exercise and it's not working. High triglycerides or very imbalanced cholesterols. Low HDL, high LDL. And all of these are your body signaling to you it's in a metabolic state of stress. Blood pressure, marker number 1, as we know, is your body's way of ensuring that oxygen and nutrients reach every organ in the body. When your blood pressure is consistently high, it usually means your cardiovascular system is under some level of a strain. So think like your arteries as a garden hose. If your water pressure is high for long periods of time, it can cause cracks and leaks and eventually breaks. This is exactly what can happen inside your blood vessels when you have hypertension for a long period of time. And it is the number 1 and first major warning sign that we see with metabolic syndrome, yet it's often just dismissed as something normal as a part of aging. But here's the truth. Hypertension is not normal. It's not genetic. It's a direct result of inflammation, insulin resistance, and toxicity buildup within your body. And so when your blood vessels become stiff and inflamed, then we start to see kidneys start to struggle, fluids can start to back up, all of which will push your blood pressure higher. And one of the biggest culprits behind hypertension is insulin resistance. And this is what most people don't connect the dots with. They don't realize that insulin is not just about blood sugar. It controls how your kidneys manage sodium and fluid balance. When insulin levels are high for long periods of time, it helps to cause a reaction where your kidneys retain sodium, which leads to increased water retention, which leads to higher blood volume, and you guessed it, higher blood pressure. And again, what does a conventional physician do? Beta blockers, ACE inhibitors, diuretics, all designed to force your pressure down without addressing the underlying root cause. And so as we discuss the corrections in segment 2, you can see blood pressures change drastically. Marker number 2 for metabolic syndrome, high blood sugar. And this is why we're talking about this today, because most type 2 diabetics just believe they have diabetes, when in fact they don't recognize it's a global metabolic change. The second sign of metabolic syndrome, and perhaps the most dangerous, is when your blood sugars start to go up. This is where diabetes starts to show up. And if it happens, your body stops responding to insulin properly. Insulin, again, is the hormone that should drive sugar into the cells so it can be burned for energy. And when you have an onslaught of processed carbohydrates or high levels of inflammatory foods, your cells physically become resistant to insulin. So sugar stays in your bloodstream for long periods of time. Did you know that the average American today is consuming 150 pounds of sugar a year, which is 5 to 6 times what it would have been if we lived in the 1800s or even the early 1900s? This consistent onslaught of sugar causes our pancreas to constantly pump out insulin, and over time it can become that the cells themselves become numb or resistant to insulin, and so therefore blood sugar levels start to rise. This will get diagnosed as insulin resistant, and it is the root cause of type 2 diabetes, but remember, it is the effect of metabolic syndrome. When a conventional physician often tries to address this, it's a prescription, right? Metformin glucophage, or it's insulin injections, or it's the new Ozempics and the Wegovyas and the Mounjaros. It just masks the underlying problem. The real solution here is to lower insulin naturally by addressing it through dietary components, fasting, chiropractic care, detoxification. Because the third marker is the effect of not doing that. High levels of insulin for long periods of time promote abdominal weight gain. And one of the biggest warning signs for metabolic syndrome is that excessive abdominal fat, particularly around the visceral tissue, which is what you're trying to work off in the gym or what you're trying to diet out, right? If I could just get my abs back, if I could get my stomach to shrink. But it's all the fat that accumulates on the inside around your organs and your liver and your intestines. Not the same as regular body fat. This is an inflammatory type of fat where it's inside the body wrapped around your organs. Visceral fat is dangerous because it acts like an endocrine organ. This fat actually secretes inflammatory chemicals, which only makes the body more inflamed and drives everything that we've just discussed. The more inflamed you are, the higher blood pressure. The more inflamed you are, the more insulin resistance we see. And if you're trying to lose weight around your stomach or your lower pelvis or your buttock area, the problem isn't always just about eating too much food. It's about the fact that hormones are out of balance. High levels of insulin force your body to store fat. So if you work out like crazy, but your insulin levels are high, you cannot physically lose weight. Conventional medicine, again, it's about cutting calories, making sure that you're taking your prescriptions, your medications, and unless you fix the metabolic reason in the first place, no amount of dieting or caloric restriction or calorie cutting is going to help you to lose weight. The real key, reset insulin sensitivity, lower inflammation, and activate fat burning by the techniques I'm going to teach you guys today. Marker number 4, this is a big one, high triglycerides. Unhealthy fat storage is what this would be labeled as. Triglycerides are a type of fat that we find in the blood, and when you eat, your body converts the excess sugars, especially from carbohydrates, into triglycerides and will store them in fat cells for energy. But when your triglyceride levels get too high, it's a sign that your metabolism is breaking down and your body is not burning fat for energy. The biggest high driver of elevated triglycerides, excessive sugar consumption, processed carbohydrates, fructose corn syrups. Every time your body eats a refined carbohydrate, your liver is converting them into triglycerides, which raises the level and increases your risk for metabolic syndrome. High triglycerides are linked directly to fatty liver disease, which again is another sign of this metabolic dysfunction leading to metabolic syndrome, which leads to elevations in blood pressure, blood sugars, cholesterol, triglycerides, and your weight. Again, what's the approach conventionally? Well, statin drugs, but again, remember, most statins don't address the root cause. They may artificially make the numbers change. The real way to do this is you have to start addressing the fact you must cut out carbohydrates. We need to stabilize blood sugars. We have to focus on healthy fats so that the body can burn them for energy. Because when you get the fifth marker, HDL levels going low, LDL levels going high, this is your body's natural defense mechanism. It's how it fights back. It helps to clear all the cholesterol from your arteries when your HDL levels are high. But what happens is because we burn through the reserves, we're storing fat, we have high levels of insulin, and we're in a state of stress metabolically, HDL levels start to go down and LDL levels start to go up. As your HDL levels drop, it's difficult for your body to clean out the oxidized cholesterol from your blood vessels, and that can lead to plaque formation and cardiovascular disease. Low HDL is a sign of chronic inflammation and insulin resistance. So instead of using statins to try to bring LDL levels down, again, our solution would be we want to work on increasing the quality of your diet, reducing your inflammation, reducing your insulin levels, and helping your body to restore metabolic balance. Because here's the kicker and why it's so important that you take a moment and download the Diabetes Heal Thyself ebook. Simply text your name, your email, and the word diabetes to 704-906-2094. We're going to send this to you for free, and you get access to the masterclass March 15th, 10 a.m. in the morning. If you're someone who is sick and tired of sticking their fingers every day, looking at elevated blood sugars, having their doctor say your A1C is still high but it's manageable, you can break free from this because metabolic syndrome is what leads to diabetes. It is the gateway that connects type 2 diabetes. So therefore, if we can reverse the metabolic syndrome, you can start to see massive changes in your blood sugars and your A1C. If left unchecked, though, it's like a raging inferno. It leads to insulin resistance, chronic inflammation, metabolic dysfunction. And the worst part is most people don't recognize until it's already diagnosed, when their doctor has already labeled them, you're a diabetic. And here's the truth, guys. Diabetes does not have to be something that just shows up out of nowhere. It's a direct consequence of an imbalanced metabolism that has been ignored for a long period of time. How does metabolic syndrome lead into insulin resistance and type 2 diabetes? Because at the heart of the problem is insulin itself, which is a hormone that controls your blood sugars. I want you to think of insulin as like a key. It unlocks the door to the cells to allow for sugar to enter and be used for energy. If you're consuming too many refined carbohydrates and sugars, your pancreas has to work over hard, so it starts to elevate insulin levels, and over time, the insulin is beginning to become resistant. The cells don't listen to it anymore, like a lock that's jammed from overuse. This is called insulin resistance, and when your cells become insulin resistant, sugar has nowhere to go. So it stays in the bloodstream, and then here's the kicker. That stimulates more insulin, which makes the problem even bigger. So as the pancreas starts to overproduce insulin, insulin levels start to go higher and higher and higher, and as a body's reflexive defensive mechanism, it turns off the insulin receptors at the cellular level, and so you can't get sugar inside the cell. I've had people say, well, Dr. Ernst, I've changed my diet, my sugars go high. I'm eating everything's perfect, my sugars go high. It's a fact that there's been physical damage at the cell, and you need to fix the receptor in order for you to get well. So what is the major source of this? Chronic inflammation. It is the major factor behind what's happening. Think of it like this. If you were to label inflammation as bad, then the challenge is we can't look at it that way. So chronic inflammation is the key. Acute inflammation, when you have a cut or a bruise or you've done something, that's an actual cellular healing response. The inflammation is there to fight off an infection, to repair an injury, and we need that style of inflammation, short-lived for repair and regeneration. But when the inflammation is chronic and constant and systemic, it can damage your cells, it can disrupt hormone responses, and it can impair your metabolism. And chronic inflammation is what leads to insulin resistance. And oxidative stress, which causes your body to go into an attack mode, can lead to an autoimmune condition where your body physically starts to attack the receptors at the cellular level. Your body starts to treat elevations in blood sugars, if you will, as if it's like an infection, leading to chronic low-grade inflammation. And over time, what happens is blood vessels, pancreas, the liver, the kidneys, they become inflamed, which only causes more stress, and that leads to an elevation in the resistance of insulin in the first place. Inflammation can also trigger hormone imbalance, which makes it harder for you to regulate sugars and burn fat and maintain your metabolism. This is why people with metabolic syndrome often are saying, I'm gaining weight like crazy, my joints hurt, my brain is foggy, I'm even depressed. And what we have to do is address the root source of inflammation. You can do this very easily by downloading the Diabetes Heal Thyself ebook. Anti-inflammatory diets, the protocols, the supplements, the nutrients, everything you need is inside this ebook. Simply text your name, your email, the word diabetes to 704-906-2094. We'll zip that over to you today. And again, next Saturday at 10 a.m. in the morning, I'm hosting a free online masterclass where we're going to take you through how do you identify your root triggers, what are the tests that you can get that you can even be sent straight to your house to do, and the steps to lower blood sugars, A1C, even blood pressure, start losing weight, energy, etc. All that can start to come back. Simply, again, text your name, your email, and the word diabetes to 704-906-2094. So here's the challenge, guys. We know that processed foods, stress, and environmental toxins are a big player in the development of metabolic syndrome. Because again, it doesn't just happen overnight. It's a result of chronic choices that we make against diet, ultra-high processed foods, chronic stresses, the toxic chemicals we're exposed to. Most Americans today are eating foods that are loaded with seed oils, artificial additives, sugars. All of this triggers inflammation and weight gain. Fast food, sugary snacks, the so-called healthy foods that are even still filled with fructose corn syrups. All of these are culprits behind driving inflammation. Then we have the fact that we're so stressed out today, constantly on the rise with cortisol. It triggers hormonal changes. It causes fat to be stored in our liver and in our body, and it leads to insulin resistance. Elevations in cortisol is a key player behind type 2 diabetes, and most people are never addressing it. Then again, we have environmental toxins. We talked last week, the entire connection between toxicity and an insulin resistance created because the toxins land in the receptor and block it and blunt it. So here's the good news. As we kind of have a commercial looming up and we're going to shift gears into the corrective phase, you can fix this. All I wanted to do is show you in the first half of this show that it is a real problem that exists and is not just being treated by looking at your symptoms and taking a medication. Let's clump it together and go after the root cause, which is the chronic inflammation, the resistance to insulin, and the fact that your cells are not burning energy the proper way. So we store fat, we drive cortisol, and when we come back from this commercial break, I'm going to show you a step-by-step method to reversing this trend, helping your body bounce back from metabolic syndrome, and you can see blood sugars drop fast. You can see A1C drop fast. You can even see blood pressure drop fast. Because when we, instead of chase after symptoms and we address the underlying root cause, your body is designed to heal by itself. So what's coming up in segment number 2? We're going to be discussing the goal, correcting the root cause. We're going to be discussing the major players, everything from how to change our diet to how to reduce chronic inflammation, how to reset our hormones, even down into how do we get our bodies moving better so we can get the stress and the irritation out and the sugars start to drop quickly. Take a moment right now and text the word diabetes with your name and email to 704-906-2094. Ebook is yours free. All the supplements that you need, the regulatory herbs, the guides, even the test that can help you figure out your underlying root cause is in there. And Masterclass, Saturday, March 15th. It's right around the corner. We're going to take you live through a process of identifying, regulating, and removing root causes so A1C, insulin, and blood sugars can drop fast. Hey, it's the Ask Dr. Ernst Show. Don't go away. We will be right back.
Like most sustainable products, sustainable coffee production is not only healthy for the environment, but it's also healthy for the body. Like our commitment to purity in every cup, our focus extends beyond taste to encompass the health of consumers and the environment. At Purity Coffee, the journey from farm to cup should be as pure and sustainable as the coffee itself. Our farmers adhere to rigorous organic farming practices, ensuring our beans are free from harmful chemicals and pesticides.
We try to make organic coffee, even though we didn't know it was organic. We just were not using chemicals or anything like it. We weren't really interested on chemicals. We wanted to have something healthy, something without needs of chemicals. That's why we went into, by then didn't exist the word organic, I think. We're talking about on the 70s. So nowadays we know the new words, organic, sustainable, and all that. We try to do all that regardless. We didn't do it for any purpose specifically, but we did it because it's the natural things to do. We live on the farm. We have a lot of workers who are thriving to make things better every time. And they love the fact of the challenge of what to do with some waste, what to better up things, what to recycle, what to reuse.
I'm Whitney, a dietitian and diabetes educator, and you may be surprised to know that I actually recommend for my patients to drink coffee. Coffee is actually one of the richest sources of antioxidants in the Western diet. Chlorogenic acid, one of the antioxidants found in coffee, helps not only fight inflammation, which can be the root cause of so many chronic diseases, but it actually can help improve blood sugar balance. Because chlorogenic acid reduces carbohydrate absorption, it can reduce blood sugar spikes at mealtimes.
But our dedication to health doesn't stop there. Purity Coffee is not just about a great cup of coffee. It's about a commitment to protecting the environment for future generations. By partnering with sustainable farms and investing in carbon neutral practices, we minimize our ecological footprint and promote a healthier planet for all. As consumers, we have the power to drive positive change through our choices. By choosing Purity Coffee, you're not just supporting your own health, you're also championing a movement towards sustainability and environmental responsibility. So why settle for anything less than pure? Choose Purity Coffee and join us on a journey towards a healthier you and a healthier planet. Because when it comes to coffee, purity is the ultimate quality measure.
Wine is a fermented beverage that has been enjoyed by humanity for over 8,000 years. Our ancestors believed in its magical healing powers. Philosophers turned to it to spur new ideas and encourage lively debate. Wine has been a well-studied part of our history, but recently it's changed. The wines sold today in most stores and restaurants are not the same wines enjoyed by our ancestors. Today, wine is a highly processed, factory-made product filled with toxins and industrial additives. The grapes are farmed with machines and heavy pesticide use, and the marketing is misleading and dishonest. Wines free from this human intervention still exist. They're called natural wines. These wines are a return to the old way of making and enjoying wine. Free from commercial additives, high sugar, and heavy alcohol content, these wines are a beautiful expression of nature. They're also extremely rare. Less than 1% of the world's wines are grown to this standard. They're made in hyper-small quantities by family farmers who work by hand using ancient practices. When you drink them, all of this becomes clear. You'll notice a completely new wine experience. This is the kind of wine that derive from wine sources. We search the globe looking for pure natural wines, carefully nurtured by family growers who work with nature, and we take it a step further, sourcing wines that meet our strict criteria for farming, purity, and taste. We only work with organically grown wines, farmed without irrigation and without heavy machinery. Grapes are hand-picked and then fermented using native wild yeast, not the industry standard GMO yeasts. Our wines are pure, lab-tested by an independent enologist for metrics including alcohol and sugar. They also taste extraordinary, bright, fresh, and full of life. They jump out of the glass because they aren't sterilized or heavily processed.
Happy Saturday. Welcome back. Hey, my name is Dr. Ernst. You're listening to the Ask Dr. Ernst Show. It's a show where pounds are shed, disease is dead, and you can be set free from your health problems when you unlock secrets to natural healing, functional medicine, and even metabolic health. In the first segment of our show today, we uncovered the truth behind metabolic syndrome and its link to type 2 diabetes. We discussed how insulin resistance, chronic inflammation, poor diet, hormone imbalance, and even toxic overload are the main root causes what leads millions of Americans to be diagnosed as a metabolic condition, leading to things like elevations in blood pressure, cholesterol, blood sugars, and unfortunately, the labels of a disease today known as diabetes. But here's the good news. It is reversible. There are ways you can unwind the metabolic effect. And remember, you're not designed to be diabetic. You're not designed to be with high blood pressure. Your body is able to repair and heal itself. And I don't think it's something that we have to rely on taking medications the rest of our life and being on this medical merry-go-round where it's prescription, subscription, test, prescription, subscription, test. Your body is designed to heal itself. And in this segment, I'm going to show you how to begin the process of repairing your metabolism to allow for metabolic syndrome to clear. And as a side effect, blood sugars start to drop, blood pressure can come down, triglycerides can resolve, LDL, HDL levels can start to fluctuate back, and you can begin to lose weight and have more energy. The key to reversing this is to recognize that you have to take a non-conventional approach. We would refer to it as sort of a functional approach, a system where we look at the entire person instead of just isolating symptoms. Functional repair, functional medicine, functional nutrition is all about not prescribing a pill for every problem. It's instead about asking, why is this happening in the first place? Instead of looking at blood sugar as the problem, we're going to look at insulin resistance as the root issue and go, that is what needs to be corrected. Instead of blaming genetics, we're going to look at lifestyle, diet, stress, toxicity. And instead of managing a condition, we're going to teach you how to focus on the metabolic dysfunction that caused it in the first place so that as you address that, your body can heal itself. This approach is radically different from conventional medicine, which will look at diabetes and blood pressure and cholesterol as a progressive disease that can only be managed with medications. And of course, the standard metabolic protocol for a type 2 diabetic, count carbs, take your medications, and when that doesn't work, start to move to injections. And when that doesn't work, even more injections. And it's not true health care. It's more of a disease management system. Functional medicine, on the other hand, we're going to be focusing on finding the dysfunctions in the metabolism, correcting them naturally so that your body restores normal metabolism, regains sensitivity to insulin, and over time can help you get your body back on track so you can lower and or reduce or even potentially eliminate your medications. How does it differ from the way we would look at diabetes, for example? As we discussed, conventional medicine often is a symptom-based model, meaning if you have high blood sugar, you're given a medication to lower blood sugar. If you have high blood cholesterol, they'll give you a medication for that. If you have high blood pressure, they're going to give you something for that. But none of these are addressing the actual reasons of why it's out of balance in the first place. Think of it as simply a Band-Aid that masks symptoms. So let's look at diabetes, for example. When your blood sugar starts to creep up, your doctor will give you a medication typically to lower it. But what happens when the medication stops working? The doses increase, and then it starts to go to a second medication. Or maybe even today, you start using the new GLP-1 agonists, Ozempic and Trulicity. Eventually, insulin resistance gets worse because we're not addressing the root cause, and your doctor may say, well, we need to do more and more and more. But wait, is the problem too much insulin in the first place? So now, instead of solving the issue, they start to make people completely dependent upon medications and thus enduring the diagnosis as a lifelong managed condition. This is where the natural approach is completely different because instead of forcing blood sugars down, we want to ask that question, why is it high in the first place? Instead of trying to artificially lower numbers, we want to restore the body to natural balance and help regulate sugar and metabolism. And instead of telling a patient that this is something you have to deal with forever, we want to help you to underline the root cause and get rid of it. The goal, again, is always correcting root cause. Think of your body like a car. If a check engine light goes off, what do? Do you cover it with tape and keep driving? Of course not. You would take it to a mechanic and find out what's exactly wrong. And this is exactly what conventional medicine does with diabetes. They see the high blood sugar as a problem and they want to lower it with medications and insulin instead of looking to, again, why is it that way in the first place? The real issue is not blood sugar. It's the insulin resistance, it's the hormone imbalance, it's the inflammation, and it's the metabolic dysfunction. And so how do we correct this? We have to begin by cutting out processed carbohydrates. We have to begin by reversing inflammation, by looking at your gut and your detox pathways. We need to reset hormones, leptin and cortisol to restore proper metabolism. This is why we use things like fasting and chiropractic care and natural detoxification to help build a strong, healthy system. And in doing this, we're not addressing the root, or we're not addressing the superficial symptom, the high blood sugar. We're letting the metabolism fix itself. So the end goal is better numbers on your labs by your body doing it by yourself. And that's a version of freedom. Freedom from prescription medications, freedom from weight gain, freedom from fatigue and brain fog and all these things that come with insulin resistance. Because the truth is, your body knows exactly how to heal. We just have to help you remove the barriers and prevent your body from breaking down in the first place. And that's exactly what we do. So how do we address this when we talk about natural solutions to reverse metabolic syndrome? Number one, everything I'm going to describe to you is in the Diabetes Heal Thyself ebook. Absolutely free for you to grab today. Just text the word diabetes plus your name and email to 704-906-2094. We'll zip that over to you today, and you're going to get access to a masterclass I'm hosting Saturday, March 15th. It's at 10 a.m. in the morning, and I'm going to take you step by step in greater detail than what we're going to do today on how to test and identify your root cause, how to address that root cause so that sugars drop, insulin drops, inflammation goes down, and it can happen quickly. And remember, metabolic syndrome and type 2 diabetes are not permanent. It's a metabolic imbalance that you can correct. And how do we fix this? We have to target the 5 main causes: processed foods, chronic inflammation, hormonal imbalance, lack of proper movement within your nervous system, and toxic overload. And for each of these, there's a solution that you can implement so that your body can get a great result and see changes in blood sugars and cholesterols and triglycerides. So solution number one, we must start to address your diet. The number one driver of metabolic syndrome and diabetes is the kind of diet you consume because, again, traditional, modern, American standard diet is loaded with processed carbohydrates, refined sugars, inflammatory seed oils, and artificial additives that just simply push your body into a constant state of insulin usage and fat storage. If you want to reverse metabolic syndrome, you must first remove the foods that are breaking your metabolism down and replace them with foods that heal. The best way to do this, a low carbohydrate, anti-inflammatory diet. And here are the foods that irritate and cause damage to insulin receptors, can lead to type 2 diabetes, and cause metabolic syndrome. Number one, grains, wheat, corn, rice, oats, sugars, not just white table sugar, but all the processed sugars, high fructose corn syrup, and all the additives that we put into our foods today. Industrial seed oils, which is a big deal. So the canola, the corn, the Wesson, all of these highly inflammatory seed oils that the only way we get them is by using a chemical extraction process. Like, I don't know if you guys know this or not. Most of the seed oils that we use for cooking today, you have to use solvents like hexane and benzene to pull the oil out rather than just pressing them as you would a natural, healthy oil. Industrial seed oils, processed foods, sugars, and grains all spike insulin levels, which create a chronic inflammatory state. So instead, what we want you to focus on are clean animal proteins. Grass-fed beef by far is one of the cleanest sources of healthy fats and healthy proteins that can drive down blood sugars over time. Pasture-raised, wild-caught fish, pasture-raised chicken that are organic, not eating grains. We got to stay away from foods that are fed grains because grains inflame them. And when we eat those foods, we become inflamed and it only leads to more problems. Healthy fats. It's an absolute essential today. Believe it or not, avocados, coconut oil, olive oil, nuts and seeds are all great ways to elevate your fats. And what happens is when you take good, healthy fats into the body, it teaches your body how to burn fat for energy. We need to make sure we're consuming nutrient-dense vegetables. Think of it as if you were to do more of a ketogenic or carnivoric-based diet. They have incredible power behind reversing insulin resistance. In fact, there's a physician up in Boston University, Dr. Thomas Seyfried, who has shown evidence that if you kick into a carnivoric ketogenic state for as little as 3 weeks, you can reset your metabolism, you can change insulin sensitivity, you can break the metabolic syndrome, and it just takes a matter of a couple weeks. If you need some guides on how to do this type of a diet, Diabetes Heal Thyself ebook is yours free. Simply text the word diabetes plus your name and email to 704-906-2094, and we'll send it over to you, and you'll have everything you need to start implementing the style and the pattern of food eating that will help you regulate your sugars. Intermittent fasting is another major role that needs to be done within our diet. Doing a 16 to 18 hour intermittent fast each day forces your body to begin to burn fat for fuel instead of sugar, which helps to break insulin resistance. Remember, the more you're exposed to carbohydrates, the more insulin is secreted, the more your body does not listen to it. To change insulin sensitivity, we have to stop using sugar as our main fuel source to allow for insulin levels to come down over time, which allows the sensitivity to increase, and that allows your body to begin to stabilize and heal itself. For some of you, I would recommend you consider doing a 24 or 48 hour fast at least once a week. What this does is it accelerates metabolic healing by making your body stay away from carbohydrates, bringing the insulin levels down, and it drives you into a metabolic state known as ketosis. This type of fasting has been shown in research to reduce insulin levels faster than anything else. It improves fat burning, and it triggers a condition known as autophagy, which is your body's way of cleaning out damaged cells and damaged tissues so that it can repair and regenerate. The number one issue with most type 2 diabetics is the cell itself and the receptors that receive insulin are simply inflamed and damaged. And if we do this process of intermittent fasting and a high inflammatory diet, following more of a ketogenic carnivoric plan, you can see those cells start to repair and the insulin receptors improve, and thus the body begins to react. And you'll see insulin go down, you'll see blood sugars go down, and you'll even see weight loss and blood pressure and cholesterol start to change. Think of it this way. Food is either medicine or it's poison for your metabolism. The standard American diet, of course, is high in, I'll call it, foods that create inflammation within the body. Instead, if we focus a low-carb, high healthy fat, clean protein diet, it's the fastest way you can begin a healing state. And remember, you have the power to control your metabolism simply by choosing the correct types of foods. You can go to AskDrErnst.com, click on recipes, real simple, easy to find. These are all following the pattern that we teach of a low-carb, moderate protein, high-fat diet. And solution number 2 is we have to reduce chronic inflammation. Chronic inflammation is an underlying driver of metabolic syndrome, which is, again, an underlying driver of insulin resistance. And it comes typically because of having poor gut health, hidden infections, or some sort of a toxic overload that you haven't addressed. When your body is in a constant state of inflammation, again, remember, insulin is secreted, hormones become balanced, and your body actually begins to age faster than it should. What most people don't realize, again, is insulin is not just a blood sugar hormone. Insulin elevates cellular processes. It can make you age faster. It drives fat into your organs, into your liver. It runs elevations of blood pressure and cholesterol and triglycerides. So the real root here is we have to shut off the insulin response within the body to bring the insulin levels down. The good news is you can shut off inflammation by simply starting to focus on healing your gut and supporting natural detox pathways. If we want to begin looking at leaky gut, I would recommend highly that you go back to our episode last week. We did an entire segment on how leaky gut syndrome is connected directly to insulin resistance by leading to an antibody reaction attacking the receptors at the cell in the first place. What happens is when your intestine lining becomes damaged, usually because of eating too many grains and taking medications and having exposures to toxins, undigested food particles leak across the membrane, they get into the bloodstream, and they trigger an immune response. This creates an inflammatory state that, again, the reaction of your body is to elevate cortisol and to elevate insulin. So how do we repair this? Nourishing foods that seal and heal the intestines. Bone broth is by far one of the best. It's high in proline and glycine, and the nutrients found in the broth are very soothing and healing to the intestine. You can do a 1 or 2 or even 3 day broth fast and start to see drastic changes to gut inflammation, which then does this. It drives inflammation down, which will help to improve insulin sensitivity. Fermented foods, kimchis, kefirs, sauerkrauts, kombuchas, these all contain natural, healthy probiotics, which help to restore the gut lining and reestablish the microbiome. So at the same time, if we remove the inflammatory foods that create leaky gut, gluten, dairy, lectins, artificial sweeteners, and we add bone broth, fermented foods, probiotics, you can see over time the intestines start to heal, it seals, and then the body begins to heal and regulate your inflammatory process. Then we have to focus on liver and detoxification. Remember, your liver is responsible for breaking down toxins, including excess hormones, even if it's overloaded, and allows your metabolism to change. So if you think of it this way, elevations in insulin should be addressed by a healthy liver because your body would break insulin down into its subcomponents so that the insulin levels decrease and the sensitivity improves. But what happens is when your liver is toxic and is phase 1, phase 2 overloaded, we can't regulate our hormones. And as a result, we start to pile up with fat, HDL levels go down, LDL levels go up. And again, you can see the conundrum. That'll get labeled as you have high cholesterol, you need to take a medication, when in fact it's simply just a breakdown in detoxification pathways within the body. How do we support detox simply? Elevations of cruciferous vegetables within your diet. Broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts. All of these contain key nutrients that help to upregulate glutathione, which is a major antioxidant that regulates detoxification within your body. You can also use dandelion teas and milk thistle and activated charcoal to safely pull and remove. Infrared saunas, dry skin brushing, lymphatic drainage. These are all techniques that we have addressed on multiple shows that if you do this properly, you can upregulate liver detoxification, which helps to clear stress to the body, and it can break down the excess hormones like cortisol and insulin. So the bottom line is you don't reduce inflammation. If you don't reduce inflammation, you're never going to reverse metabolic syndrome. So if we start with a gut healing, elimination, anti-inflammatory diet that contains detoxification, as inflammation goes down, insulin sensitivity improves, the reaction at the cellular level pulls sugar into the cell. We burn it for energy, and we, instead of storing it as fat, we begin to burn fat also for energy. So we start losing weight. Our energy comes back. Our blood pressure comes back to normal. Cholesterol can start to regulate, and even A1C can start to drop in as little as 3 to 6 months. Solution number 3, we got to address hormones. And we have to remember that it's control over insulin, cortisol, and leptin. Remember, your metabolism is controlled by hormones. And when they're out of balance, it becomes almost impossible to get a change, like losing weight or regulating blood sugars or reversing a condition. The 3 most important metabolic hormones that need to be addressed: insulin, which we've talked about intimately, cortisol, again, talked about intimately, and leptin, which is one we really need to start discussing. When these 3 are out of balance, your body is in a state known as metabolic syndrome, metabolic dysfunction, and a key fat storing component. So instead, we don't lose weight. We don't burn fat. So first, we need to talk about insulin. And we've discussed it many times. Remember, you can reduce your insulin levels by fasting, decreasing your carbohydrate intake, and prioritizing your diet to be high in healthy fats. When insulin is high, your body holds on to fat and it resists burning it for energy. So again, the solution, low carbohydrate, healthy fats, intermittent fasting to get your body to push towards a state of burning fat for energy and utilizing sugars the way it was originally designed. Cortisol, of course, is a stress hormone. And what we find is that when your body's under chronic levels of stress, we overproduce cortisol. And cortisol's effect is to raise blood sugar, to increase belly fat, and to make you more insulin resistant, which is why breath work and meditation, adaptogenic herbs, all the resources that we have available for you in the free Diabetes Heal Thyself ebook, this is your key to unlocking metabolic success. To grab this, simply text your name, your email, and the word diabetes to 704-906-2094. We'll zip it over to you today for free. And again, remember, you can join us for the masterclass on breaking insulin resistance Saturday, March 15th at 10 a.m. And we have to talk about leptin. Leptin is a hormone that not that many people discuss. It is produced by fat cells to tell your brain that we need to burn fat for energy. And the hormone tells us also when we're full. So when leptin is out of balance, we're hungry all the time, we don't burn fat, and guess what? The greatest way to reset leptin is the same thing we do to reset cortisol and the same thing we do to reset insulin. Fasting with a low carbohydrate, high fat, moderate protein diet, and your body will start to see your leptin levels stabilize. Then we have to talk about the fact that there is a neurological component to your metabolism that most people overlook. It's the connection between your brain, your nervous system, and your organs. Your spinal cord is sending millions of signals every second up and down between the brain and the body. And if you have a subluxation, a misalignment of the spine that's putting pressure on a nerve, it disrupts the signaling to your organ tissues. And the vagus nerve, back of the skull, just behind the ears, and the mid-thoracic spine controls pancreas and liver. What we often see is that there's lack of movement in the spine at the region that neurologically controls the organs of effect. If you want your pancreas to work better, you need to make sure that your vagus nerve and the mid-thoracic nerves that go to the pancreas are working properly. This is where structural-based chiropractic, thermography, digital x-rays are vital in resolving a metabolic condition, because if you have neurological interference, your brain cannot connect properly to your organ tissues, and the effect is a slowing of function. This is why chiropractic care is such a crucial component to boosting your metabolism and helping your body bounce back from conditions like metabolic syndrome, type 2 diabetes, because if you restore neurological control, brain to body organ connection increases. If you reduce inflammation and you balance your hormones, then you get a better signal at the cellular response. If you remove toxicity, the insulin receptors open, and if you follow the steps I discussed today, you can see major changes in your blood pressure, your blood sugars, your cholesterols, even your A1C, and then we break away from metabolic syndrome. Hey, if you need more information as we're wrapping up our show today, text the word diabetes with your name and email to 704-906-2094. I'll zip over to you the Diabetes Heal Thyself ebook, which has everything we just discussed. Plus, it has the top 5 herbs to help regulate your blood sugars, lower insulin, and get your sensitivity back on track again. And again, if you're somebody who's been struggling, you're using injections of insulin or Ozempic or Trulicity, or you're following the conventional method and you're wanting a way out, I highly encourage that you register for the Diabetes Heal Thyself Masterclass next Saturday. It's at 10 a.m. in the morning. You can do that right now by texting the word diabetes with your name and email to 704-906-2094. Again, 704-906-2094. Wow, we covered a lot today. And I'd like to say, if you understand the concepts that if you find the underlying root cause and you address it and you let your body heal by itself, that is the functional approach. Instead of taking medications to manage and hide symptoms, let's go deep and find your root cause. We discussed it today. 5 major connections between metabolic syndrome and diabetes. You address those 5 and you can see your sugars, your A1C, and your weight and your health and your energy change drastically. Thanks so much for tuning in today. I look forward to seeing you guys each and every Saturday right here, News Talk 1110 WBT, 3 p.m. for the Ask Dr. Ernst Show. And don't forget, take a moment right now. Text the word diabetes plus your name and email to 704-906-2094. eBook and Masterclass are yours. Be blessed. Have a great day, and I'll see you guys next week.